Morning, I'm Karen Holmes Ward. Over 42,000 nonprofits contribute to the social fabric and the economy of Massachusetts. Yet today, government funding of many organizations is in jeopardy, particularly those focused on youth development, workforce training, and violence prevention. As Antoinette Antonio explains, organizations like UTEC are safety nets providing education, employment, and emotional support for those who have experienced incarceration, street violence, or homelessness.
In the heart of Lowell, Lawrence, and Haverhill is UTEC, formerly known as the United Teen Equality Center. Here, at-risk young people like Louisa Leon are given a second chance to flourish.
They helped me a lot. I was a single mom. I only had my son. They showed me that they cared, even outside of the clock, after hours, weekends.
For over 25 years, UTEC has helped young people make progress, but federal funding cuts are placing nonprofits like this in jeopardy. Tamara Soraluz, UTEC's Chief Programs Officer, explains that there are many touch points to violence intervention programs.
We meet young people where they're at, and that may be court, that may be hospital, that may be while they're still incarcerated.
Jose Rivera, a street worker at UTEC, visits gang hotspots and makes home visits to recently incarcerated individuals.
As a street worker, the day-to-day consists of showing up for young adults to support in court. Whenever there's a crisis in any one of the three cities, you always see street workers there. I was given a second chance at freedom, at trying to do things over. I was about 13 when I caught my first case, right, which happened to be a homicide. So at the age of 15, I was tried as an adult. I was released by the age of 23, but it took a lot of good people around me.
44% of UTEC's participants are young parents, so the organization offers free on-site childcare for children between the ages of 6 weeks to 5 years old.
They stayed with my son so I can go to court, like stuff like that. It's like they showed me that they really cared. Like I said, I was in a bad path. I was just trying to get through with my son.
Leon sold drugs as a source of income to support her family.
I don't want to do this, but I have nothing. I have nobody. I have nothing, like nothing. My son, he's seen someone beat me. I didn't have cash assistance, DTA, welfare, nothing. UTEC helped me get all of that.
Young people leave jails and leave Department of Correction facilities with a CORI, with a criminal justice history that prevents them from having access to certain jobs, prevents them from having access to housing.
UTEC has a social enterprise program that includes mattress recycling, catering, and woodworking. Participants cooked nearly 13,000 boxes of Mad Love meals for food-insecure neighborhoods.
1 week she might do Asian, the other week she might do Spanish, Dominican food.
Other young adults craft unique wooden products sold at UTEC's Mad Love Market. Take a look at this dinner table for a small apartment that turns into a gaming station. But the breadth of their work is in jeopardy. 61% of UTEC's operating budget came from government grants and contracts.
We do have a mix of state contracts, and we did, prior to April, also receive federal funding, right? That was cut back in April. We lost about $2 million in federal funds right away, as did other organizations in Massachusetts and nationwide. We are a stipended program, so we pay young people to be here, and we spend anywhere from 1.8 to 2 million just on paying young people every year.
Budget cuts mean tough decisions, including reanalyzing staffing.
We have frozen any vacant roles right now, as well as any new roles, unless they're critical to serving young people, right? And so I think that we have really looked at our budget, really looked at our numbers to make sure that we can move forward in a safe way.
Soraluz hopes they can overcome the challenges of funding cuts by not touching services that directly impact their young people.
1, 2, 3, bang, bang.
Leon hopes to work at UTEC and inspire others with the same love and support she received.
Honestly, I would have been in jail. I would have been in jail, I would have lost my kids. I will never forget like the day they pulled me aside and they told me like, stop. Going through everything I went through, at the end of the day, UTEC was there. That's why I consider them as my home, like as my family, because not even my family was there, but they were.
And their social enterprise work is a great way to support the young people who are trying to turn their lives around. Now, you can purchase any of their Mad Love Market products and handmade woodwork. Just go to WCVB.com/Cityline for more details.